the sun, the source of our life. But not all of its rays that reach us are visible or beneficial. Some rays are extremely dangerous. Section 1. What are ultraviolet rays? UV rays are invisible but powerful. They are a type of electromagnetic radiation that directly affects human and planetary life. UV, or ultraviolet rays, lie just beyond visible light on the electromagnetic spectrum. Their energies range from 3 electron volts to 124 electron volts. These energies can cause chemical reactions when they interact with atoms and molecules. When UV rays hit our skin, they can directly affect DNA. This sometimes leads to mutations, meaning cells copy incorrectly. Excessive exposure increases the risk of skin cancer. Section 2. What are the types? First of all, 1 nanometer equals 1/1000th of a meter. Because UV rays are electromagnetic waves, their wavelengths are measured. They are divided into 3 main categories: UVA, UVB, and UVC. Longer wavelengths penetrate deeper, such as UVA. Shorter wavelengths remain on the surface and directly damage DNA, such as UVB and UVC. The ability of UV to affect the skin layer is determined by wavelength and energy. In other words, which passes below the skin and which remains above, is a purely physical consequence. UVA, with its longer wavelength between 315 and 400 nanometers, has lower energy. Therefore, it can penetrate to the lower layers of the skin, dermis, but its energy is not high enough to break DNA bonds. In other words, it does not directly damage DNA, but it produces free radicals. It damages collagen and elastin fibers, causing skin aging and wrinkles. It reaches deeper layers of the skin. It accelerates skin aging and can cause some minor DNA damage. UVB, with its medium wavelength between 280 and 315 nanometers, has medium energy. At medium wavelengths, its energy is higher than UVA. It affects the epidermis, the upper layer of the skin. It can directly damage DNA. It causes sunburns. It increases the risk of skin cancer. It causes extensive damage to the upper layers of the skin. It is associated with sunburn and DNA mutations. It plays a critical role in vitamin D production. UVC. It has very high energy with short wavelengths between 100 and 280 nanometers. The energy per beam is destructive to DNA and cells. In short, we could call it the most lethal UV, but it does not reach the skin in the natural environment because the atmosphere blocks it. However, it is used artificially in the following areas: sterilization lamps, hospitals, laboratories, water purification systems, air purifiers. These devices use UVC to kill germs, bacteria, and viruses. If exposed directly, its effects on the human body are as follows. It can lead to direct damage to DNA and cell death, burns, and near-death damage to the upper cells of the skin. Corneal burns and temporary vision loss are very dangerous for the eyes. Therefore, use outside of a laboratory is very risky. So, why doesn't it reach the surface? Ozone, oxygen, and other gases in the atmosphere completely absorb UVC. Therefore, human skin and eyes are protected from UVC in the natural environment. Section 3. Benefits of UV radiation. Although UV rays may seem dangerous, they play several important roles in our lives. For example, vitamin D synthesis. When UVB rays hit our skin, our bodies produce vitamin D. This vitamin is critical for bone health, the immune system, and hormonal balance. Skin and psychology. Light UV exposure can improve mood and regulate our biological clock. Sterilization. The UVC lamps mentioned above are an effective method for eliminating germs and viruses. However, the critical point here is the dose. While small amounts of UV are beneficial, excessive exposure can cause harm. Section 4. Sun protection methods. There are several ways to reduce the effects of UV and protect our skin. Using sunscreen. Those with high SPF levels protect against UVA and UVB. Protective clothing, long-sleeved clothing and hats physically block UV from reaching the skin. Shade and timing. Avoiding outdoor activities during the hours when the sun is at its strongest is one of the most effective methods. Eye protection. UV rays can also damage the eyes, so sunglasses are essential. Section 5. Future and technology. Scientists are constantly working to minimize the effects of UV rays and increase their benefits. For example, smart fabrics. Clothing that reflects or absorbs UV rays is being developed. UV sensors, devices that measure solar radiation and provide the correct dose of exposure. Advanced filters, technologies that block harmful UVC rays emitted into the atmosphere. Section 6. Conclusion. UV rays are invisible, but their effects are visible. Proper protection can sustain our lives, but improper use can pose serious risks. The key is conscious exposure and protection. Be friendly with the sun, but be careful. Its power can be destructive if not managed properly.